Sid in the morning.
Bernard McGurk and Sid Rosenberg.
Sleep with one eye open.
Life, sports, politics,
Stay woke.
mischief.
Oi!
Live, local, on it. 77 WABC.
Wow, what a good song. Tacopina's gonna have to wait. I want to hear some of this. Ventura Highway, America.
Chewing on a piece of grass.
This is one of those, Bern, you can roll down the window and you're on the New York State Thruway heading up to Monticello on a nice night, right? This one, America, Ventura Highway. Anyway, this is the fourth and final hour of this Bernie and Sid on Monday. It's been a terrific show. Rich Lowry was great. Mike Richter was great.
We were great.
That's always the case.
Rich Valdez,
We're going to hear it again coming up at 9:40. He is the call screener for the Mark Levin Show, the great one, and he had an almost encounter, which has become big news in New York with AOC at the Puerto Rican Day Parade yesterday. You're going to hear from Rich coming up at 9:40, but one of our regular Monday guests is one of the most famous defense attorneys in the country. Friendship now that's over 40 years with Joe Tacopina. And here he is, the handsome, brilliant, tremendous attorney, Arthur Idala. Joe, what are you doing? Where are you, in a tunnel or something?
Yeah, basically, I'm in a tunnel.
Where
Almost
are you?
In a tunnel, correct. I'm hovering in a bathroom in a train so no one could hear me.
That's hilarious. Are you in America? Yes, right? Obviously.
This is the country, yes.
Yes. Okay. So listen. So before we get to Linda Fairstein or one of these degenerates that you defend, you made me crazy, Joe, for weeks about this book. They say we couldn't do it. This Wayne Copy book about the 1969 Mets. He's coming on Friday. And with that, Joe, it's gone.
He's out. Maybe his phone fell into the toilet bowl there, Edith. Huh?
He's in a train somewhere. Sounds weird. I thought of Trading Places for a second. Then I thought of Clue, when somebody gets killed on a train, right?
Yeah. Or Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh, even better. Now, that was Agatha Christie? No.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's right.
And the lady that was in... Oh, it was Agatha Christie. Who's the other one I'm thinking of, though, Bern? She was...
Mary...
No, the one who did Murder, She Wrote.
Angela Lansbury.
Oh, Angela.
That was a TV show.
Right, but she also played like the Candlestick or something.
Yes.
In Beauty and the Beast, right?
Yeah, she was great.
Oh, she was. Oh, she was. This woman was in a movie, believe it or not, back in the 1940s.
Who's that?
Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
I mean, she was old.
Oh, I know. She was
still,
old years ago.
Still around, but...
She's still alive?
Can she make the Deadpool?
I think she's too old for the Deadpool.
Yeah, I think so.
I think she's over 85 years old. That was a show that was pretty popular, and I never liked it.
It was... they always characterize it as an old person's show.
Yeah, seemed
old
that way.
people like that.
Right. See, when I was growing up, there were those old people show. For example, I'll give you an old person show. You can tell me if you agree or disagree. Marcus Welby.
Yeah.
Old person show.
Old person.
Okay. This one, I'm not sure where you'll go with this. Because you had 3 young sons. Fred McMurray. My 3 sons.
No, that was a family show.
Family show.
How about Columbo?
Peter Falk, either way, but you want an older guy than that?
Well, let me just say that Columbo still stands the test of time.
Oh, I love that show.
I mean, you can watch that today, any day, any day of the week.
Falk is a great
any
actor.
hour.
See, the older guy for me for a show like that, Barnaby Jones. That's old man television.
Oh yeah, I never watched.
Kojak.
The great Putty Epson. No, Kojak was young.
Kojak was
Oh,
cool.
was it?
Yeah, Telly Savalas was the man. All right, he's back from a train somewhere. Joe Tacopina. Good morning, Joe. Joseph.
Joey.
I'm here with you, boys. I'm here.
All right. So we got Wayne Copy coming on Friday. This Met book, which you rave about. Why is this book so good?
You know, because it tells of one of the most incredible seasons in the history of sports. Look at the Mets have been horrific for 7 years before they went and won the World Series with a great group of young players led by maybe one of the greatest managers of all time, Gil Hodges. But what it also did was it really brought you back into New York City in 1969. And so Wayne was able to really talk to you about the events that were happening in New York, cultural events, political events, and all, intertwining an amazing sports story, especially if you're a Met fan like we are, Sid. It was just an incredible, incredible book. And it was one of those books where I read in like 3 days because I couldn't put it down. It was incredible.
I am a huge Met fan. I remember the victory in 1969. That's how old I am. What's the name of the book again, Joe?
Oh my gosh!
No,
they said it couldn't be done.
They said it couldn't be done. Right.
Okay,
and he's going to join us, you and I, on Friday.
I look forward to that.
Friday. Yeah.
So
it's incredible.
Anyway, Joe Tacopina, let's get to some of the news. We talked about this last week. We know where you stand. Linda Fairstein's now been dumped not only by these prestigious charities from the boards of them, she's also been dumped by her publisher. And we spoke with Arthur Aidala on Friday. He said that with the evidence she had, she did nothing wrong. The NYPD did a thorough investigation after these dudes were sprung from prison and found that Linda Fairstein and nobody, the late detective Mike Sheehan, nobody did anything wrong.
No one did anything wrong. And
That's right.
Everyone did everything right except 5 innocent kids were put in jail, convicted for a crime they didn't commit, were racially profiled, had confessions coerced out of them, were beaten by a cop at 14 years old, were questioned without their parents against the law. But everyone did everything properly.
But that's not what Michael Armstrong, who was a NAB commission guy, which is an anti-cop commission, as you recall, he did a thorough investigation, and he's the one who made that determination. There was no coerced confessions. He made that determination.
It was a coerced confession. It was a false confession. Bernie, you're forgetting that someone else confessed and was guilty and convicted. There was no DNA in this case. As a matter of fact, the DNA was of the perpetrator. Of course it was a coerced confession. They were questioning 14-year-old kids who had mental disabilities, learning disabilities, without their parents. Illegal. They did it. They physically abused them. One cop punched Richardson in the head. I mean, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that those kids volunteered those statements. They didn't. They weren't tortured.
They were told they would never leave the prison unless they said what they were told to say. They were beaten and they were questioned without their parents. That's not a volunteered statement. By any stretch of the law, that's not considered a confession that is legal.
Well, this is where Bernie and I disagree, because I thought the cops may have done the same thing with Chanel Lewis, and it's not because Bernie loves the cops more than me. There's a million coerced confessions. Cops do this stuff all the time. Not that they're dirty cops, but that's what they do. Now, with that said, I do believe it was illegal. I do believe some of this stuff was coerced, but I also think these kids are guilty. In fact, if they did the DNA now...
They're not guilty. I mean, they're not guilty because the DNA disproves it.
You're right.
More importantly, someone else pled guilty to it and made a confession as now in jail. So someone is responsible. It just wasn't these kids. They may have been guilty of being dirtbags and being punks, but they were 14 years old who spent a long time in jail for crimes they did not commit. I mean, Linda Fairstein, according to witness testimony, said, go into the projects and stop every little slug you see. I mean, that's not...
Yeah, that's Netflix nonsense. She never said that.
That's not Netflix nonsense. That's a witness. You know that? You were there, Bernie.
No, I happen to know that's just that's fiction. That was written by some screenplay writer to put into the mouth of what's her name, Felicity Huffman. That never really happened.
Oh, that never really happened.
That's right.
Well, they went into the projects. They found a couple of slugs. One of whom was not even there. Kept Corey Wise, who wound up spending time in jail because he was 16 years old and considered an adult. So whether it was said that way or wasn't said that way, it was ordered and it happened, and innocent kids were put in jail because they were, let's call it what it is, they were racially profiled, confessions were coerced, they were questioned without legal guardians, which is against the law. Look, we can say, hey, these kids are bad kids, they're guilty, we don't have to apply the laws because they're bad kids, but that's not how our system of justice works.
Not fair enough. Listen, that it did go down that way. A lot of us still feel like if they did DNA testing now, because there was no touch DNA back then, Joe, you're right. Listen, based upon what they had at the time, they had nothing other than these kids who were in the park. So I'm not arguing with you,
but that's not racial profiling. They were black kids in the park that night that were doing these crimes. So they had to go. What are they going to go after? Blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids in Queens? They went after the kids who were actually in the park.
Well, I would say this. If they could do DNA testing now, like touch DNA, which Bo talked about last week, that they couldn't do back in 1989, they may find something different. They may.
Can you guys hear me or am I gone? Is this my Sprint commercial happening right now?
No, you're on.
You're here.
Okay. They went to the projects. They were looking for kids of color, of minorities. They went into the parks. They weren't looking for some preppy kids. I mean, they weren't racist.
All right, we lost him.
He lost them.
All right. But we know how Tacopina feels.
There's one last, Corey Wise. This is a very, very important fact. He mentioned the Walkman to the detective way before this woman came out of the coma. Nobody knew about a Walkman that was stolen from the woman. He mentioned it to her. It wasn't until she woke up and volunteered that information to the cops that they said, wow, that's what that kid told us back when he took us to the scene.
I don't feel like you're both right. I mean, I think they're guilty. In my heart of hearts, I think those kids were guilty, scumbags and guilty. But by the letter of the law, there is no evidence. There was no DNA. There was DNA from Reyes. There was DNA from Reyes.
There was no rape DNA. But
that's right.
But if they had done touch DNA, they would have found those kids were there.
No. Not if. We're talking about what they found. They found DNA from Reyes, including his semen, I believe. They had nothing from the kids.
No, they had plenty of the kids' friends. Those guys boasted to their friends what they had done.
That's
and the friends came in and told the cops, thinking it would help the friends.
Right. That's not evidence.
Well, that's
like a coerced confession.
Well, whatever it was, it's not enough to ruin a lady's life. She did everything she did justifiably by the book, by the evidence she had, and then she's getting.
I like Linda too, but she's getting carried away. Calm down. Anyway,
who's getting carried away?
Linda Fairstein. I mean, come on.
She's getting canceled, as they call it.
Yeah, I know. I felt bad for her.
Her whole
nice
life is canceled.
Her whole life is canceled?
It's over.
It's over?
I mean, it really.
What are you talking about?
At this point, she had all the money she ever needed, but her legacy is in ruins.
Well, not if you know and love her like we do. So, right?
I don't really love her that much. I know her, but I don't.
Right. 1-800-848-WABC. Rich Valdez, the great producer of the Mark Levin Show, and his encounter with AOC still to come.
Bernie and Sid in the morning, 77 WABC.